Hi guys, and welcome to another video. This one is gonna be part 3 of the entire history of Eurovision. I'm gonna be talking about 1970s. Before I jump into it, I wanna say a huge thank you again to my 3 newest Patreons, Karins, Oscar and Sebastian. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon team. This channel does improve thanks to you guys. If you guys would also like to be Patreons for my channel, you will find a link down below in the description. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel if you like this type of content. And also, since this is part 3 of the series, if you've missed the first 2 of them, you're gonna find the links to them down below in the descriptions. In those videos, I did 1950s and 1960s. And we left off in 1969. We are moving on to 1970. This was the 15th edition of Eurovision Song Contest, and it took place in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Because in 1969 there were 4 winners, there were issues trying to figure out which country would host 1970. UK and Spain hosted in 68 and 69. They were kind of removed from the draw, and only France and Netherlands were taken into consideration. And now, let me ask you, what do you think would be the fairest way to figure out which country to host? The answer is the toss of a coin. They literally tossed the coin to figure out which country would host 1970. In the end, as I said, Netherlands was the one who would host Eurovision Song Contest 1970. Only 12 countries participated in this show. This was the lowest number of countries since 1959. Austria, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Portugal decided to boycott this year's contest. They were not happy with the results of the previous year or the voting structure. Portugal did host a national final anyway, and Sergio Burgess won. Because of the low number of participating countries, a Dutch broadcaster had to come up with some inventive ways to waste some time. So they came up with this idea that still works in Eurovision right now. They introduced for the first time the postcards. Willy Dobe, the host of this competition, also gave the shortest welcome in the history of Eurovision. It only lasted 24 seconds. On-screen captions introduced each country and artist. The stage had a simple design composed of a few curved bars and some silver balls that were able to be moved around the stage. To avoid an incident like in 1969, the tie rule was introduced. It is not a tie rule that we know right now. Back then, if 2 or more songs are gonna get the same amount of points finishing on the first place, they would have to sing the songs once more, and then the jurors would vote for their favorite by raise of hand. If any of the countries tied again, they would be considered winners. So that didn't solve all that much. This show is also notable because of the appearance of who was back then an unknown artist, Julio Iglesias. He sang for Spain, and after the show, his career was followed by success for decades to come. He did manage to become one of the best-selling artists of all time. Before the contest, United Kingdom were the big favorites to win the show. And because they were so sure they were gonna win, they actually planned an after party, which would have been like their winning party. But guess what? They finished second again. Ireland won the contest that year with a song sang by Dana, an 18-year-old schoolgirl. The name of the song was All Kinds of Everything. The song became a million seller, and the girl became an international star. In 1990s, Dana became a politician. She ran for the presidential election in 1997 and 2011 and became a member of the European Parliament in 1999. Mary Hopkin, the representative of United Kingdom, the one that finished second, commented afterwards that her appearance in the contest was absolutely humiliating, and she said she hated the song she had to sing. Luxembourg failed to score any points. This was their first and only time to do so. Eurovision Song Contest 1971 was the 16th edition of Eurovision and took place in Dublin, this being the first time Ireland hosted the show. We all know they're gonna get used to it in the 90s. Malta made their debut this year in the contest. Austria, Finland, Norway, Portugal, and Sweden decided to return. This brought the total number of countries back to 18. This year, for the first time, all the broadcasters had to televise a preview of the songs before the live competition. Belgium's preview video featured Nicole and Hugo singing Goeie Morgen Morgen, but Nicole got sick a few days before the actual competition. Jacques and Lily had to step in to sing the song, and reports suggest that Lily did not even have enough time to buy a proper dress for the competition. The BBC were worried about the live audience reaction when the UK entry is gonna be performed because of the hostilities that were going on back then with Northern Ireland. They specifically picked a singer from Northern Ireland that was both popular in UK and Ireland. This way they thought that would ease the reaction of the public. However, Rogers, the performer for UK, still received death threats from IRA. Groups of up to 6 people were allowed to perform for the first time. The previous rule where the performance was supposed to be solo or a duet was totally abolished at this point. Several days after the show, this was also broadcast in Iceland, Hong Kong, and the United States. A new voting system was introduced this year. Each country would send 2 jury members, one being aged over 25 and the other being aged under 25. Both of them would award countries points ranging from 1 to 5. While this meant that there was no way of countries receiving nul points this year, another problem arose. Some jury members tended to give only 1 or 2 points for all the songs. Whether this was done for them to increase their own country's chances to win the song contest is not known, but this shortcoming made the show a little bit more plain. The winner was Monaco with the song On banc, on arbre, une rue, performed by Severin. This was Monaco's first and only victory in the contest. The song was sang by a French singer living in France, sang in French, conducted by a French native and written by a French team. Severine declared that she never even visited Monaco before or after the show, a claim that was easily disproved by the Monte Carlo television, since they had the preview video sent all over Europe where you can clearly see Severine being in Monaco. I mean, why would you lie about that? They literally filmed you. Eurovision 1972 was the 17th edition of the show and took place in Edinburgh. This was UK's 4th time being host. However, this was the first and only time when they hosted the show outside England. Following Severin's win, Monaco decided they could not host the show. The Principality was unable to provide a venue, the props, and the rest of requirements. All the countries that participated in 1971 contest also participated in this one. This year, the stage design included a screen to introduce and accompany the performing artist and to show the interval act and the voting sequence. Before each country's performance, a picture of the artist with their names and the names of the songs were projected on that screen. And during each performance, an animated spiral was the special effects to help the song. The interval act was performed outside the vast esplanade of the Great Hall of Edinburgh Castle. The jurors were stationed in the safety of the castle and they watched the entire show on TV. Just like the previous year, each jury had 2 jury members, one of them between 16 and 25 years old, the other one between 26 years old and 55 years old. They had to cast their votes immediately after the song was performed, and the votes were then collected and counted. I remind you, they did not have to rank the songs, they could just vote from 1 to 5 for each song. 1972 was the first year when there were absolutely no ties in the contest. Every year prior to 1972, at least 2 countries tied for some of the spots. The song contest was won by Luxembourg with a song called Après toi and performed by Vicky. She previously finished 4th in 1967 with the song L'amour est bleu. This was Luxembourg's 3rd victory after Eurovision 61 and 65. Yves Desca also wrote Un banc, un arbre, une rue and became the 2nd person to win the competition twice, the 1st person to win for 2 different countries, and the 1st person to win 2 editions in a row. Germany finished on the third place for the third consecutive year. This was still, up until this point, their best result in the show. Severine made a trip to Edinburgh to pass on the great trophy of Eurovision to Vicky. However, she looked absolutely totally uninterested. The viewers could see her checking her watch before the song was performed. And on we go with Eurovision Song Contest 1973. This one was hosted by Luxembourg. 17 countries took place in this year's Eurovision. Malta withdrew before they selected an entry, and this was the first time Israel competed in the contest. The rule that forced countries to sing in one of their official languages was dropped, so performers from different countries decided to sing in English. This event was marked by controversy when the Spanish entry Eres Tú was accused of plagiarism. The song had reasonable similarities with the Yugoslav entry from 1966. However, Eres Tú was not disqualified, and after finishing second in the contest, it went on to become an international hit. Apparently, the message behind Turada, the Portugal entry, was hidden well enough to be able to compete in the contest, although it was clearly understood as a blistering assault on the country's decaying dictatorship. Also, Swedish entry used a very bad word on TV in their song. However, no action was taken by EBU. And if you're wondering which word that is, I cannot even believe I'm gonna say this. Like, oh my god, the word was breasts. An argument broke out between Maxi and her Irish delegation. They could not decide on how the song should be performed. During rehearsals, she constantly stopped the performance, being obviously frustrated. When it got apparent that Maxi might be withdrawing from the competition, RTE decided to ask for another singer to come from Ireland. But in the end, Maxi did perform and she finished 10th. The contest holds the record for the most watched Eurovision Song Contest in UK. And it is also the 18th most watched show in United Kingdom, with an estimated 21.5 million people tuning in to watch the show. Cliff Richard represented UK that year with a song called Power to All Our Friends. He ended up on the third place with 123 points. In the light of the events from 1972 Olympic Games in Munich, there were fears of a terrorist attack. This was particularly directed to the first Israeli entry, leading to an unusually tight security. UK's commentator Terry Wogan also remembers that back then, the floor manager strongly advised people to be seated and applaud while seated, because if they stand up, they might get shot by the security. Well, isn't that a thrill of a show? Sign me in, I'm gonna get 2 tickets. 1973 was also the first year when women conducted the Eurovision Song Contest Orchestra. Monika Dominik conducted the Swedish entry and Nurit Hirsch conducted the Israeli entry. This was very close voting, with Spain finishing second, only 4 points away, and UK on a third place with 2 more points away. In a back-to-back victory, Luxembourg won with a song called Tu te reconnaîtras. This was Luxembourg's 4th win. The winning song scored the highest amount of points in any format up until 1975. Eurovision Song Contest 1974 was held in the seaside resort of Brighton. BBC agreed to host the show after Luxembourg, winning twice in a row, decided they could not host the show again. Katie Boyle presented the show again. This made it her 4th appearance as a Eurovision host. This time she had to remove her underwear 2 minutes before the live show started. After having problems with her dress, because of that she can be seen in the show holding her cards quite low. 17 countries participated in this year's Eurovision. Greece came in for the first time. Although they did not participate in the contest, Turkey, Austria, France, Malta, Denmark, and Iceland all broadcast the show with their own commentators. A 2-night preview show, Auftakt für Brighton, was coordinated by the German broadcaster. It was the first preview-type program that was done internationally. Up until this point, every country did their own preview show. The program is also notable for being European television debut for the winners, ABBA, who are credited in the preview as the ABBA. UK did not air the program, instead making their own preview show. United Kingdom was also represented by Olivia Newton-John this year. She finished fourth with a song named Long Live Love, but apparently, just like many other artists from UK, she hated this specific song. She liked other ones from her hit when they had to choose the song. But Long Live Love was chosen by the public through a postal vote. As a mark of respect, following the death of the French president Georges Pompidou, French broadcaster made a decision to withdraw the entry. Since the president's memorial was supposed to be the same day as the show, it was deemed inappropriate for the French to compete. Malta has selected Enzo Guzman to represent the country, but they also withdrew for unknown reasons. Italy refused to broadcast the show on the state national television, RAI, because the contest coincided with the intense political campaigning for the 1974 Italian referendum on divorce. Rai felt that Gigliola Cinquetti's song named Sì might be seen as a subliminal message to make people vote yes at the referendum. They did not want this song to be seen as some sort of hidden propaganda. They did not even broadcast the song on the radio for over a month. Portugal's entry was used as the first of two signals to start the Carnation Revolution against the Estado Novo regime, played on a Portuguese radio station late in the evening of April 24, 1974. Broadcasting of the song alerted the rebels to start preparing for the military coup, which turned out to be a successful one. The Portuguese entry was described as the only Eurovision act to actually start a revolution, this being a little bit ironic considering that Portugal finished on the last place in the contest. In 1974, during the dictatorship in Greece, the rock band Nostradamus won their first national selection. However, due to a scandal, the band was not allowed to compete in Eurovision and Marinella was sent instead. And of course, the winner of the show was ABBA with the song Waterloo. They represented Sweden. ABBA turned out to become one of the most popular acts of Eurovision. This went on to become one of the most popular recording acts of all time. This was also Sweden's first win and the first win for the Scandinavian peninsula. Eurovision Song Contest 1975 took place in Stockholm, Sweden. 19 countries participated in this year's contest, making it a new record. France and Malta returned to the contest. Turkey made its debut, while Greece decided not to enter after their debut the previous year. This year, a new scoring system was implemented. Each country would be represented by 11 jurors. At least half of them were supposed to be younger than 26 years old. Each jury member had to award each song points from 1 to 5. Just like in previous years, the votes were supposed to be given right away after the performance. And after the last act, all the points would be counted. And we move on to something that is very familiar to us. For each jury, the country that received the most points will get 12 points. The country that receives second most amount of points will get 10 points. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just the way it is now. This system went on to be known as the 12 points system. The hostess Karen Falk several times confused the new system with questions like, how much is 7 in France? Unlike today, the points were not given in order from 1 to 12. Instead, they were giving the points in the order of performances. This system remained in use until 1996, although the number of jurors and the amount of points they would give did change. The Portuguese entry Madrugada was a celebration of the Carnation Revolution. The Portuguese performer had to be dissuaded from wearing his army uniform and carrying a gun onto the stage. Some competitors, notably Portugal and Yugoslavia, decided to perform their songs in English for the jury rehearsals, but in their native tongue in the actual final show. Others, like Belgium and Germany, decided to do a mix of their native language and English. The winner was the Netherlands with a song Ding a Dong performed by Teach In. This was Netherlands' fourth victory, following their wins in 57, 59 and 69, but this also meant that 44 years would have to pass until the Netherlands will win the song contest again. Eurovision Song Contest 1976 was hosted in Hague, the Netherlands. Sweden, Malta and Turkey decided not to take part in this contest, while Austria and Greece decided to return. This meant that again there will be 18 competing countries. Sweden did not enter the contest because they were afraid if they're gonna win, they could not afford to host the show again. There have even been public demonstrations in Sweden against the contest. Therefore, a new rule was introduced for the contest where all the participating countries would chip in for the show. During the live broadcast, France failed to offer their 4 points. This mistake was also overseen by the scrutineer Clifford Brown. Because of that, Norway was placed in the actual show on the 17th place and Yugoslavia on the 18th place. After the show, the results were corrected, which also meant that the 4 points that France gave went to Yugoslavia. Norway this way fell on the last place. The contest was won by Brotherhood of Men with the song Save Your Kisses for Me. They represented United Kingdom, and this was the second consecutive year when the first act to perform won the show. In terms of points gained from the maximum possible, the winning UK entry from Brotherhood of Men is statistically the most successful winning song in Eurovision since the introduction of the 12 points system. The Victoria song also went on to become the best-selling winning single in the history of the contest. France and UK received points from all of the juries, while Norway received points only from Portugal and the Netherlands. The 22nd edition of Eurovision Song Contest took place in London. This was the 6th time the contest took place in UK. 18 countries participated this year again. Sweden returned. Yugoslavia decided to take a break. Tunisia was set to participate and even has been drawn on the 4th position to compete in the contest, but later withdrew. The language rule was brought back in. At this point, again, the countries could only sing their songs in one of their official languages. Germany and Belgium were considered an exception because they picked their songs before the rule was reintroduced. The show was supposed to take place on 2nd of April 1977, but because of the strike of the BBC cameramen and technicians, the show was postponed for 1 month. This was the first year when Eurovision Song Contest was staged in May since the inaugural edition. The presenter, Angela Rippon, had to deal with a lot of troubles with the scoring board during the voting, and at the start of the show she struggled to find the right camera and can be seen looking around for the camera with the red light. Due to the strike of the BBC camera staff and lack of time to organize the contest, this is seen as the only Eurovision with no postcards in between the songs. Instead, various shots of the audience were shown while the commentators were giving information about the performing act. The Belgian act Gym Express created controversy in the press with reports that they were about to wear transparent tops. In the end, this turned out not to be the case. The British conductor wore a bowler's hat and an umbrella during the UK entry. The winner was France with the song L'Oiseau et l'Enfant. This was performed by Marie-Myriam and it was France's 5th winning song. The 5 victories were a record at that time, and France held that record until 1983 when it was equaled by Luxembourg. 1977 was last of 11 consecutive years when UK ended in top 4. This is still a record. Greece finished 5th this year. This was also their best result, and it would be their best result until 2001, and of course their win in 2005. Eurovision Song Contest 1978 was held on 22nd of April in Paris. 20 countries participated, a new record. Denmark returned after 11 years of absence, and Turkey decided to take a break from the break that lasted 2 years. Along with the 20 participating countries, the show was also broadcasted in Yugoslavia, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Jordan, East Germany, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Dubai, Hong Kong, Soviet Union, and Japan. With the retirement of Clifford Brown, Frank Neff became the newest executive supervisor. The presenters were Denis Fabre and Léon Zitron. This was the first time that more than one presenter hosted a show, and the first to have a male presenter since 1956. The postcards were filmed live with the artists making their way to the stage. They took a corridor, then an elevator. Leaving the lift, they were greeted by the previous competitors, and then they will make their way onto the stage. Björn Skifs from Sweden was unhappy with the rule that every act should be performed in the native language of the country. He planned to sing in English anyway, but changed his mind in the last moment. This also meant that he forgot his lyrics during the performance. Therefore, he sang a few lines of the song in pure gibberish until he remembered the words. The contest was won by Isar Cohen and Alphabeta, representing Israel. They sang the song Abani Bi, and this was Israel's first win. This was also the first winning song to be performed in one of the Semitic languages. The French television misspelled the name of the song on their card on the TV. The win caused some problems in some of the North African and Middle Eastern countries, even though they did not participate in the contest. When it started to become clear that Israel was gonna win the Eurovision Song Contest, most of the Arabic countries just ended their transmission. Jordanian TV ended their show with a picture of a bunch of daffodils, later announcing that Belgium won the show. They actually finished second. The television of USSR for the first time broadcast this contest, and until 1988 they picked and choose which performances they want to choose. Israel was always an exception, they never showed an Israel performance. Norway finished last for the 5th time. This was also the first time when a country gained 0 points based on the 12 points system. Eurovision Song Contest 1979 took place in Jerusalem, Israel. This was the first show to be staged outside Europe. 19 out of the 20 countries that participated in 78 took part in this year's competition. Turkey decided to withdraw after pressure from the other Arab countries. They objected to a country that is predominantly Muslim to take part in a competition in Israel. Yugoslavia, who also missed Eurovision 1978, decided not to take part in this one, nor broadcast it because of political reasons. Except for the 19 countries that were competing, the show was also broadcast in Romania, Hong Kong, and Iceland. During the voting announcement, Spain gave 10 points both to Portugal and Israel, and these scores were added to the scoreboard. After the program, it was confirmed that Portugal were only supposed to receive 6 points. The voting was extremely close. Israel gained quite a lead in front of the other countries, then Spain came back and they gained a lead in front of the rest. After the second last jurors gave their points, Israel was on a second place behind Spain by 1 point. But also the last jurors that had to give their points was Spain. And Spain did give Israel 10 points. This made the audience erupt in applause. This was the first time in history when the leading country caused their own loss. In the end, the winner was Israel with the song Hallelujah performed by Milk and Honey. And these were the 70s. Quite a lot of information. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again also to my Patreons, and see you guys in a future video. Please stay safe. Bye.